Hi, this is Scouter Peter from the Scout Troop, and several weeks ago we had a lesson on a winter survival kit. The badge requirement that it was based on says, I have made a winter survival kit that I take with me on all winter activities. Right? So that's not only Scout activities, it could be family activities, or it could be something that you throw in the glove compartment of your car or anything along those lines. Once we did the lesson, we figured out that there were a bunch of items on the list that would be difficult for the Scouts to obtain individually. We figured that if they were bought in bulk, they would be a lot less expensive and they would be easier to acquire. So some of the things, for example, are individually maybe $2 or $3, but if you buy a pack of 12, then you end up only paying like $1 each for them, or even 75 cents each for them. So we figured we would make an order to acquire these things for the Scouts and give them to them in a package so that they would be able to use them as part of a survival kit. And as I'll say later on, I hope that they add a lot of things to this kit. Just taking that survival kit and showing it to us doesn't give them the necessary requirement. They need to add some things to it themselves. They need to put some thought into it. They need to learn how to use the different things that are in it and what they're for. And hopefully take care of it in a way so that it becomes useful to them for a long time. One thing I want to point out that's very important is this is an emergency kit. So many of the items, as I'll mention as I go through them, are single-use items. You know, for example, the survival blanket. Once you take it out and you use it, it's not going to go back together again in the package. So taking it out and testing it and seeing what it's like just for fun isn't a good idea unless you've got access to another one that you can replace it with. You want to keep these things handy in the kit for when they become necessary for you to use in an emergency situation. At the end of the video, I will be talking a little bit about the containers that you can use for these. It's coming in a plastic bag, and you can leave it in the plastic bag and just throw it in your in a backpack or stuff it in your pocket. But I would at least investigate some other possibilities that we'll show you at the end of the video. So without further delay, let's get into looking at the various items that are in the equipment package that we're supplying. Okay, so let's start taking a look at the various items that are in this kit that we're supplying to the Scouts. And let's start with stuff that has to do with shelter. Shelter is probably one of the most important things that you would want to have access to in a survival situation. So we've provided a Mylar emergency blanket. Comes in a nice folded up little plastic package inside a plastic bag. This is one of those single-use items. If you want to see what it's like and take it out and wear it for a while, then you're never going to get it back in the bag. It's a single-use item that once you've got it out and deployed, then afterwards you would probably want to throw it out. So don't use it until you need it. Right? This would be good to take out and wrap around you. This is a kind of a modern reflective material that will reflect heat back to your body if you wrap yourself in it. You don't want to get it too close to a fire. It melts fairly easily if a spark goes on it. You could also use it as a shelter. Just put it up. Use some of the rope to tie it to a tree branch or something, and then use it as a shelter to help to keep you from the rain. But it is a little bit on the fragile side, so the wind would probably ruin it rather quickly. With that, we've given you some rope to tie things together with. This is 550 paracord, and it's really good to, it's very heavy. 550 means it'll hold 550 pounds. So you can use it to hang things, you can use it to tie things together, you can use it to put up a tarp to make a shelter. And the interesting thing about it is if you take the cord and you cut the end off, there's an outer sleeve, and inside of the outer sleeve there is 7 white strands that run the length of the rope that you can take out separately, and each one is very strong, can be used for sewing, can be used for fishing, can be used for snares, can be used for tying things up. So you really have like 7 times the amount of rope that is here, plus the outer sheath is still useful as well. This is bank cord. Bank cord is just a thinner nylon rope, good for lashing things together, tying things if you wanted to make a pack, which we'll show the scouts how to do sometime. Is make a pack by lashing some sticks together. This would be good for that kind of thing there. So that all goes together with shelter. Water. We've included in the pack there's 4 actually, 4 water pills. Each one of these water pills is good for 1 liter of water. So there's 4 liters of water here. So you put a liter of water into a container, add 1 of these pills to it, shake it up, making sure it dissolves, and then you have to wait at least 30 minutes in order for it to kill off all the bacteria and other bad things. If the water is very cold, I would wait longer. I would wait for an hour. Okay? Don't eat these. I would recommend there's another way that you can get water, and that is by boiling it, but there's nothing really here that they could boil water in, but we'll address that right at the end when we talk about what you could put all of these survival items into. I would recommend a lice straw. It's not something that can be easily go into a pack that you would put in your pocket, into a little kit, but it's very, very handy and useful. You can buy these very cheaply on Amazon or Temu. Temu, I think they're like somewhere around $10, and they're lifesavers. So you just put it right in the water, and then you suck through it like a straw, and it will filter out all the bacteria or viruses or anything else in the water that you might get sick from if you don't filter it somehow. So definitely not part of this kit, but something that I would consider getting a hold of. All right, for fire, obviously a lighter, and this lighter, as you can see, I've wrapped with duct tape. The duct tape is really useful by itself because it can be used to patch up things. But in addition to that, duct tape is also very burnable, like it's very flammable. So you can use it as a fire extender. You could actually take off some of the duct tape and then use the lighter to light it on fire, and it'll flare up, and it'll do a good job of helping you get your fire going. You can see that on the top of this I've put an elastic band. Okay, when that elastic band is on the top, it prevents the lighter from lighting. Okay, it'll keep it from accidentally depressing, and so I'm not worried about it lighting in your pocket. But if you depress down the top of the lighter, then all of the gas inside it or the fuel inside it will escape, and then you've got a dead lighter that isn't of any use to you. So just by putting an elastic band around the top here, that will prevent the lighter from accidentally discharging the fuel. Okay. Along with that, we like to say when we're doing survival stuff that if you have one of something, then it is not very useful, because if the lighter all of a sudden doesn't decide to work, and Bic lighters are notorious for all of a sudden deciding they don't want to work, you need another source of fire. So 1 is none, 2 is 1. If you've got 1 and it fails, then you have nothing. So in addition to the lighter, we also have a ferro rod and some fire plugs. The fire plugs are neat. If you pick them apart a little bit, break them in half and make them a little bit fluffy, then if you hit them with a spark, they will burst into flames very, very quickly and easily, and they'll burn for a long time and help you get your fire going. The fire rod, we call it a ferrocerium rod. Fire rod is going to be your source of sparks, and you need something hard to scrape on it. That's when your knife comes in handy. We strongly suggested that the Scouts, as part of their regular kit, have a folding knife that locks. The folding knife often does not have, like, so for example, on this Swiss Army knife, it doesn't have to be a Swiss Army knife, the back of the knife is very rounded, and it's not going to do a good job of scraping this. Fortunately, the back of the saw will, right? And if the back of the knife on the Scout's folding knife is not got a strong angle on it, a sharper angle on it for scraping, then all you need to do is take a file to it and file it down so that it has a square, sharp angle. Once you've got that square, sharp angle, then you would, I don't want to light a fire here on the table, you can get a good spark going. And see, I don't want to get my bandana on fire here, but you can get a good spark going, and the spark will light this, or it could light the a tinder bundle, some birch bark or something like that, and you can get a fire going that way. So there's your second method of starting a fire. For heat in general, one of the things that we have included is one of these packages of 2 Hot Hands hand warmers. It can be hand for gloves, can be for feet. You can even put it on your body someplace. But there's 2 here, hand warmers. You just rip open the package and shake it, and the oxygen mixes with the contents and it gets hot. Just have to be careful it doesn't get too hot for you. You don't want it to burn you. In addition to that, for fire, we also have included in the kit a small tea light. Wax is great for starting a fire, or you could put it down someplace and light it for some extra light. But generally speaking, it's really good as a fire extender. Okay. Shelter, water, fire, and food tend to be the things that you really are concerned about in a survival situation. And there's nothing here that involves food. So it would be a good idea to add to this some kind of a food source. A granola bar, a couple of granola bars, or a protein bar, or something that can be used, and just put a food bar in your pocket and use that as a food source. You can go a long time without food, but after a while you start to get uncomfortable. Food helps keep you warm, calories keeps you warm, and also you might get kind of tired if you're without food for a long time. So having a food source is always good, not to mention the fact that it's nice to have something like that to eat if you're in that situation. So let's take a look at some of the other items that are in here. I have a small flashlight, and this is one of those things where the kids love to play with it, but if they're going to constantly play with it, then it's not going to work when they need it, because it doesn't have a replaceable battery. It's a single-use type item. It'll last a long time. Some that I have lasted for a long time, but if you're constantly playing with it, it won't. But it's very bright. I've had this and given it to somebody at the opposite end of a lake, like a kilometer away, and have no trouble at all seeing the light and seeing it light up the area that they're in. Okay. A small button compass is something that is good to have. We may take some of these compasses. The Scouts are constructing hiking staffs sometime in the next little while, and these are really small and easy to lose. So if you take it and glue it to the top of a hiking staff and you have it to use there as you're hiking along, then that's a really good place to put it. Otherwise, I would put it in a plastic bag or something that would be a little bit bigger, maybe with the fire stuff, so that it doesn't easily get lost if you're rummaging around in the bag. This is an interesting little item. It looks like a little pill, but it isn't. It actually is called a Whizzy Wipe, and if you add water to it, it very quickly expands into a face cloth type of a thing. Now this face cloth is, I could rip it apart. It's not the strongest thing, but it's not weak either. It's quite strong, and you can use it to wipe a wound in a first aid situation. You can use it to wipe off anything. You can clean your face. It probably would be very useful if you needed something, if you were going to the bathroom in the woods to wipe yourself. This would be very useful. So when it's not expanded, then it's very compact and very easy to use. Whizzy Wipes, they're called. Okay. For signaling purposes, there's a little mirror here. This is plastic, not glass, so you don't have to worry about it shattering. There's a technique that you can use for signaling with a mirror, and on a sunny day, if you can reflect the sunshine, it will actually be seen like a kilometer away. So if it would be seen by an airplane or helicopter that's looking, or by somebody that's up on a peak someplace, they would be able to see it. And there's a technique to using it that we will teach the scouts when we have an opportunity to, on a nice sunny day. Okay. A bandana is very useful. The scouts normally have a scarf that they use around their neck, and it has all kinds of uses, everything from keeping the sun off your neck to turning it into a bandana that goes over your head like a little hat, to wearing it as a headband to keep the sweat out of your eyes, or you can use it to take hot pots or hot materials out of a fire, and it can be also used if you're canoeing to wrap around your hand, and so you don't get blisters from the paddle, the canoeing paddle. So it's probably one of the more useful items that gets overlooked because it has so many diverse uses that it can be used. One of the best things it can be used for is filtering water. So if you spread it out and you put dirty water through it, one way or another, then the bandana will filter out all of the gunk in the water. The worst of the bacteria, the algae and sediment and other things that are in the water will all get filtered out. And that leaves you with water that's not drinkable, because it's still going to be full of all kinds of things that could make you sick. But it's much cleaner, so that if you use the life straw, or you use a filter, or you boil it, or you put it in a container to add the water purification tablets, it won't have all the lumpy things in it. It'll be very much cleaner already, and that makes it a lot more potable. Also, it's easier on the filters. If you put really, really dirty water through the filters, they don't last very long. So the bandana is useful for a pre-filter for the water. On the same note with water, the plastic bag that this all comes in can be used to put water in order to add your tablet, right? So you put 1 liter of water in this bag, add the tablet, and then shake it up, let it sit for a half an hour. Now, in order to do that, though, you need to know how much water is 1 liter. So the scouts need to measure out 1 liter of water, add it to the bag, and then get a magic marker and mark on the bag where the 1 liter mark for the water is. It's not going to be exact, but for the water purification, it'll do the trick. Okay, So those are the items that are in the bag, and that the Scouts can use to add to their own survival kit. Hopefully they will add a lot of other things to it as well. Now that's the things that we're supplying for the kit, and we'll run through them in meetings as well to give you the Scouts a better idea of how to use some of them. Now, what kinds of things could they add to the kit themselves, right? So that we're not doing all of the work. One obviously is some kind of a folding knife. Doesn't have to be a Swiss Army knife like this one. Doesn't have to have a saw on it. But the folding knife is definitely one of the most important tools that they can have with them. Another one would be some kind of a first aid kit or an ouch kit. It's listed as an ouch kit on the list. Small box or plastic container of some kind that has some band-aids in it and some other things that you might want to put in a first aid kit. I didn't put a whistle in the kit because most of the Scouts said that they already own a whistle, but if they do, then they need to include it in the kit, either in the kit in the bag or the container itself, or hanging around their neck. And if they don't have a whistle, then that's something that they should get. I would recommend also some kind of waterproof matches, so there's a third way to start a fire with some kind of a match case. I would put I would include a card with their name and their contact information on it. I carry one of those, and actually what I do is I put it on the cover of the mirror, so that helps protect the shininess of the mirror, but it's there in case something happens to me, and whoever finds me needs to know who I am and how to get in touch with somebody. Okay, so that's an important thing, to contain that information, to include that information somewhere in there. As I said before, a water bottle, some snacks, and anything else that they might want to include. That I would also suggest that if they come up with anything original that they would want to put in the kit, then that would be a good idea as well. And it should be small enough so that it can fit in the kit and be easily carried around. Or you don't want to have a kit that's so big that you don't want to bring it. The only survival kit that's useful is the one that you've got with you. Okay, so those are the items, and hopefully that's been useful. Okay, so the last thing that I want to mention is, what do you want to put this in? Now you can put it in the plastic bag. The plastic bag can easily tear. I would recommend one of two things. First thing I would recommend is that either from Amazon or from Temu, you can buy a small pouch. Okay, they're called MOLLE pouches, M-O-L-L-E, and they come in all sizes and shapes, and they'll usually cost you somewhere around $10 to $15 on Amazon, $5 to $10 on Temu, and they have a large section of them too. And you don't have to worry about the quality, because it's basically going to just be used for the containing of the kit. I would put the kit in the plastic bag inside of this so that it remains waterproof, because this isn't waterproof. The other possibility that you might have, and I don't have one here to show you, is that on Amazon you can get these stainless steel lunch boxes, and they're about this size, okay? Maybe a little smaller than that. But they're handy for two reasons. They're not going to fit in your pocket too easily, but they would fit in a day pack quite handily. But one of the main reasons that they're useful is the fact that you can put water in them, and then you can boil the water, and now you've got one more way of getting potable water. Because if you put water in it, filter it through the bandana, put the water in the metal container, put the metal container over the fire that you've started, and then you're sure that that boiled water is going to be safe to drink. Can't do that with a plastic water bottle. But if you have either a metal water bottle or if you have a survival kit container that's going to have be made out of stainless steel metal, then you can put that over a fire and boil your water that way. So that's it for the video. We will hope to see the Scouts bring finished survival kits to a meeting so that we can check them out and check off the badge requirement for them. And they should be bringing it with them to camps and on hikes and hopefully for any activities that your family might be doing. If you're going on a car ride, a long car ride, it's a good thing to throw in the glove compartment. If you're doing some family camping or family hiking, it's a good thing